The GAA Hour with Colin Parkinson is brought to you by Paddy Power, home of the Money Back Special.
And when I started running, I suppose I didn't stop, and when I got the chance to go, I said I should go, and so I opened up.
We were only the small little fish out there, so we are, and we're trying hard to make it through. But it's hard to get the breaks when you're the smaller fish.
Because I love this county so much, you know, and it's just, I'm delighted that the lads did it for the people who over today, because like I'm heartbroken.
Welcome along to the GAR. This is the hurling show on a Monday. JJ and Damien are here with me as usual, and we've new All-Ireland champions, lads. So 45 years of hurt. A bit of Sean South from Garryowen played for you on the way in there. 1974, 1980, 1994, 1996, 2007. All the bad memories gone. And Limerick are All-Ireland champions, and they nearly fucked it up. they nearly conspired to do it. They didn't. Thank God, in fairness for them, because that would have been a complete disaster. But it was an incredibly dramatic ending to the game.
But they're probably too much up with too much time to go, and didn't really know how to go win the game, you know, that kind of way. So, but they hung on. But then, look, you have to give credit to Galway as well. Like they're defending champions, and they went down actually swinging as well. Like, you know, the last 8 minutes, you're probably saying when it went to 70 minutes, you're probably saying, yeah, Limerick have this. But with the 8 minutes in time, Galway just took over, went for goals.
Was the thing.
It was crazy. Like, it just they decided to go for goals, and got a couple of, like, the first 70 minutes didn't look like scoring a goal whatsoever. Like, they weren't even near the goal, they weren't taking shots to the goal. But then last 8 minutes they decided to go for it, and they're not to lose, and just turned the shackles off and went for it. But
yeah, it was
huge game.
So, but that was the thing, Damien, because Shane Dowling gets that goal in 68 minutes, and that's the end of it. It was a one-sided, convincing win for Limerick, and then all of a sudden 8 minutes goes up on the board, and the Limerick crowd take a gasp, and the Galway crowd cheered, and it was the 8 minutes going up was almost like a score or a goal for Galway. That was the way it kind of came about.
Yeah, and the thing about it was, people were saying, like, where did 8 minutes come out? But people had actually kind of forgotten that James Scale had gone down injured, so he was on the ground for a long time, you know. And then there's 30 seconds then for every substitution. So when the 8 minutes went up, even in the stands, it was like the Galway fans were like going, "Geez, we can do this, you know." Or we could. And next thing, Whelan got the goal, which gave us a lifeline, you know. But the truth was, Colin, you know, and it would have been an injustice if Galway beat Limerick. Limerick were on top for an awful long period that game. They looked very comfortable. They had an awful lot of wides, but Galway realistically really only hurled for 10 minutes. And it was the last 10, and I suppose nearly won the All-Ireland, or maybe even we'll say nearly snatched the draw or whatever. But just on the day, Galway didn't hurl well, and Limerick did, and they deserved their win, being honest. And as you said, you'd have felt sorry for Limerick if they absolutely blew it. Jeez, you know, on a natural level. But no, Galway didn't hurl well yesterday. Never got to the level that they needed to get to.
Yeah. So John Kiley was interviewed on the pitch afterwards, and like, you know, all this kind of talk when he was a bit like the Anthony Daly speech, which was, you know, spine tingling, and John Kiley was talking about, we've always been the bridesmaids coming up here, and no longer are we, and just the crowd cheered behind it. And I've never been, Croke Park was rocking yesterday. Now we'll talk about the wides, because they deflated what could have been the most unbelievable atmosphere, because in the parade it was deafening. I've never heard noise like that in the parade. Now, parade's always kind of loud, but there was something this felt extra. But I think the wides did kind of knock the momentum out of them, do you know, a little bit. But then the last 10 minutes brought it all back, and then the final whistle goes. Zombie comes on, the tan eye, John Kiley's interviewed, and like the emotion of looking down at the field, like I felt emotional as a leash man looking at it.
I was on the field as well. I just could look around, and when the song came on, the whole stadium just stood up, like it absolutely erupted, like, you know. And as the same as yourself, Willie, I got emotional as well, just looking around. I actually was looking out at the players, but then when the song came on, I just turned around and looked at the supporters. Every man to a man, whether it's a man, woman, child, all standing up cheering it. That's a memory they'll have for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I'm glad you got emotional, because I was out 2 nights before. I thought it was the hangover. I thought I was just emotional, but it was really it was incredible to watch. Now, Damien, obviously you wouldn't have felt anything like this being a Galway man, but you know, the scenes, even still, you know, you could probably appreciate it. It was like last year.
Of course, and as I said, I done an interview with the Sunday game was after the match with Kieran Carey. You couldn't begrudge Limerick, and you used to be slagging me saying that I had a big headache with Limerick, that they used to be annoying me with the way they hurled. But the truth was they used because I knew they were better than what they were showing, and John Kiley, I suppose, came in as manager and he went with a lot of youth, so he did. But yesterday I just thought the energy levels of the Limerick players from the very start was incredible. So I thought their work rate was unbelievable. Only that they missed so many points, especially in the first half. I think they would have been way ahead of Galway even at half time. And they won so many of the individual battles, but they basically, where was the game won and lost, Colin? They won the game in the middle eight, especially in the first half. They were all over Galway in the start. Like Kyle Hayes, 4 points from playing. I reckon he missed 3 or 4 more wides, so he did. The midfield were completely on top, and in the Limerick half back line were completely on top. But the celebrations there, look, they deserve it. I'm not going to begrudge Limerick their win. They were, it's 5 different winners in hurling in the last 6 years, which is absolutely incredible. Hurling is in a great place in Ireland compared to football, because I think Dublin will win the football again, and it's all just Dublin. But it was just brilliant, and well done to Limerick, and fair bloody play to them. That's all I can say.
Well, it is fair bloody play to them, and it's basically, for me, it's been the best ever championship because there's been more games and there's been more classics. So instead of them being the bridesmaids in other championships, they go and win the hardest one ever to have won.
And also, Colin, you have to remember, right? And it's hard enough to win in All-Ireland, as we all know, right? Okay, but they beat Galway to come out of Division 1B, as we call it. They beat Cork, Kilkenny, they beat Tipperary, and they beat Galway to win in All-Ireland.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
They deserve it. That's phenomenal. It's like when we won our very first county championship with Portumna, we beat Athenry, Clarenbridge and Loughrea. Just right, they were the top teams in Galway at the time. No one could ever deprive us. Our first year when we won our county final, and this is the same with Limerick. Limerick beat Galway twice this year, and they were in 2 big finals, and even when they won the Division 1B, as we call it, there was massive celebrations there. It's been a massive year for Limerick hurling, and they got everything spot on this year. And you don't beat Cork the way you beat Cork and not have character in your team and have momentum, and it proved.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Joe was going to get that free at the end. I really did, because the way he played the second half, scored 110, the goal, that was phenomenal. That was gone into the net in the blinking of an eye. I was wondering why Limerick didn't put more lads there, but I think you said before, JJ, the more lads means no one takes responsibility. Yeah. So there was 2 either side of Quaid in the middle. Yeah. Jeez, I was like, Joe's going for this. Everyone in the stadium knew he had to go for it because they had to, and he ends up. But it was in the top corner, so there was no stopping it anyway.
Kind of, Diarmaid Burns was on the post as well, and he's a left-handed hurler, so his top corner would have been free. So maybe Joe seen that, and he was poked it straight into top. Well, look, it's a phenomenal score. But
so on the basis of that free and how he'd played, I thought this
in the second half he was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
When they needed him. He was always there, he was the go-to man. Himself and Joseph Cooney. And Joseph Cooney did a great game as well, in fairness to him, But
and Burke, they're the 3 Galway lads probably.
But the problem was that I'd say if it was in the middle, he probably would have scored it, because when it kind of tailed near the end, but he was too close to the sideline to actually get the.
But he didn't catch it though, did he? It wasn't a clean strike.
He had the accuracy, when the ball was dropping, it was on the 6-yard box, right in the middle of the goal. So he had the accuracy, but he just didn't have that 5-6 yards there. But it would have been a phenomenal score in Croke Park. That would have been you're on your own 45. It would have been a huge score.
He got one against Tip, because Dara Donovan was mentioning that. He says after the game, he said, I had my head in a towel for the free, because he'd gone off the field at this stage. He says, I had to come off, but you're looking at one of the greatest hurlers of all time stepping over a ball. I remember the semi-final against Tipperary last year. He got a free in the same position. The ball came back out and he scored. I just thought, because of 1994 and because of this comeback, I just thought, I know this is really difficult, but number 1 is Joe Canning, and number 2, Limerick are just going to be like a hard luck story again. I thought it was written in the stars. Yeah, and
your heart would have broke for Limerick if they had just kind of. In fairness to them, they won the ball and they brought it out as well. They could very easily have got Johnny Dale could have got a flick, or someone could have got a flick, or got a goal or a point off it. But Tom Conning came out with the ball and hand passed it off. I think it was Tom Morrissey. And when you're 7 or 8 years of age, when you have the ball in your hand, you're running out from the fence, and then when the referee blows the whistle, that's what you practice. You know what I mean? It was a huge thing for the Limerick players at that particular time.
And while that was hard, like, I mean, winning a match like that, that's on a different level. Like, I was thinking, Jesus, imagine Limerick going to win this All-Ireland by 8 points and hitting that many wides in a game that never really took off because of all the wides. I was like, look at how they won it now.
Well, I'd say that's why they thought they were going to do, you know what I mean? They were kind of afraid to go win it, like. But if they were 8 points up next year with the confidence after winning this year, I'd say they'd go on to win by 12 or 14 points, you know, kind of way. They were really just afraid to go win it, like, because they weren't in that situation. It was just, they're up too much with too much time to go, you know, that kind of way. So if the time run a bit better. But look, come here, the questions were asked, they answered them as well, to be fair, like, you know what I mean? You can't take away from this Limerick team, like, you know. No. They're definitely the best team in the day, no doubt about that.
Absolutely phenomenal. The Stewards, so the Stewards are gathered around the field with 20 minutes to go. They're called into position. Now, I didn't see before, they actually have a blue net now. So you probably noticed it on the sideline, JJ. So they all lift up this blue net. And a few Limerick, I'd say maybe 30 Limerick fans got through one little area. Now, Stewards are very heavy-handed with some of these people trying to get onto the pitch. So I'm kind of on the fence on this, in that, like, it's a huge GAA tradition to look down over a sea of people from your own county, and they get on to celebrate with players. And now that's all taken away from them. I don't know, Damien, what you think of it. I think the captain's speech now, even though captain's speeches and Hannon's was another one, they're not good anymore. There's too many people to thank now. The backroom, honestly, he thanked everyone in his backroom team. It went on for ages. So I nearly think we should be doing away with the speeches at this stage. It's only a thank you to everybody. The character and the inspirational kind of stuff, like Anthony Daly, it's kind of gone. You get a bit at the start and then it just peters out to the point where towards the end of Hannon's speech I was like, Jesus, like, this is terrible. Like, and the crowd's just waiting to give him something to cheer about, and then he's thanking John, who carried the water all year. Like,
John was an important role as well.
Well, two things. But does anyone do they though? Like, what difference does that make? No one's listening. Like, I don't remember the fella he thanked. I don't remember the name because I wasn't paying attention. I don't know, Damien. Number one, the player or the supporters getting in on the pitch. Like, again, if the supporters are in at the pitch, you can't celebrate with your teammates, which is not ideal either. So I don't really know.
No, personally, if you ask me which would I prefer, as a neutral and as a player, I would love to see the supporters coming onto the pitch. That's, you know, I just think it was an old GAA tradition. And
no other sport has that, only us.
Yeah, and could you imagine the Limerick supporters running onto the pitch yesterday after winning the All-Ireland? It would just have been unbelievable. Look at, for example, Clare in '95. But like, then the argument is, Colin, right? I know if you said this to anyone in headquarters, they go, it's all about health and safety and all this, right? But you take Galway versus Clare down in Thurles. Like, the game was over, supporters went onto the pitch to congratulate players and commiserate with players, and supporters mingled. Like this, and it was actually a great scene, you know. So, anyways, you're asking me a question, so my answer is that I would love to see the supporters running back on. I'd love to see the crowd waiting for the presentation of the Liam McCarthy and the captain's speech. Yeah, Declan Hannon went on a bit long, right? But sure, look at it's been so long, he had to thank everyone, and he probably felt he had to thank everyone and everything. But I would love to see the supporters running back on. But look, it's all health and safety, and that's what it's down to. But yeah, I'd love to see it.
That's it. It's unique to GAA, JJ, and that's the beauty. It's the beauty of it. And
brilliant.
Remember when Limerick won the Munster, and it was that famous picture down the Gaelic grounds, and it was a swarm.
Players were carried off the field.
Beautiful. But like, all the famous pictures down through the years are lads being carried on their back by supporters, and like, I mean, it's an iconic image from GAA, and that's gone on All-Ireland Final Day. I don't think
I'd be saying I'd be 100% let the supporters on the field, because we had both, and we had back when the sports were let on the field, and then after as well, like, you know. I know you're kind of saying that Croke Park might say, like, you kind of celebrate with your teammates, but when you go back in the dressing room, that's the time you still do that. That's the time you have with your teammates there as well, and that's kind of more kind of just the group, the panel, and all the background team. That's when you celebrate with each other. But I used to love when the Hill 16 came down, and you meet a few lads from your own parish, your own club. That's what's all you see. What it kind of means to these guys as well.
Yeah, because your club run to you, like, everybody.
They're going crazy. Like,
in general,
the
people you're circled around with are people that you'll know, because they're the ones that light on you. You know
they want to go to, and you want to see them as well. It's a huge thing. Like, but you actually get more belts after the game when the supporters come on than you do actually during the game, because lads, you actually put your helmet back on when you see the supporters coming on, because everyone can just slap in the back or slap in the back of the head, but they get caught up in the whole emotion, the whole thing, like you just they feel a part of the thing. They want to get on the field, they feel a part of it. They're absolutely elated that their team after winning as well, and they just want to go out and celebrate with you, that kind of way. So I don't see any reason why they can't, because there's never any issues. There's never any.
Now we don't know. You see, you don't know if they come on the field and Hurler says there's somebody put in for a rolled ankle. Do we know that?
Yeah,
or, maybe there is.
You don't hear these stories. You know what I mean? Like bad news stories would travel, like, and you don't hear any stories whatsoever about people come onto the field, like, but. Are they protecting the field?
I think they're I don't know if they're protecting the field. I know, like, if they have concerts, there's obviously a special mat that's put over the grass. But you're talking about maybe 20 minutes and it disperses. I don't know. Could it?
Surprised how the Stewards kept the Limerick supporters off the field.
Some of them didn't. Now they were fighting to get on.
Yeah,
now and a good few got on.
To come up to the stand now, they were trying their best to get on the field. Like, you know
were
what I mean?
they?
Yeah, they were trying to break through. Now.
Yeah.
If one leg got through, now if there was a weak link in that chain, they would have all got through.
This is the thing. I'm a steward, right? Are these lads doing it voluntarily, or are they doing it? They're doing it voluntarily.
Yeah.
Would you not just let them through? Like, are you going to get? Like, what are you going to get sacked from? A voluntary job? Like, just let them through.
Free for an extra money.
Maybe that's it. I just think, right? Why do you care? I'm desperate. Keane Lynch said his mother broke through, and there's a warrant out for her, or something like that. But like, I mean, if some woman,
but I can guarantee you, one of the stewards said, "I'm Keane Lynch's mother." She obviously said that to the steward, and they
led her on. Yeah,
I'm going to look left, so you hop.
Yeah. But I'd be letting them all. I'd be letting them all through. Like, I mean, Jesus.
You would last longer in Croke Park, will you?
No. But like, I mean, I even used to get in trouble when I worked for News Talk for walking across the pitch after a match. Yeah. I was told I had to walk down under the canal and back and around.
Can't touch the grass.
Can't touch what? I'm wearing runners. So this is how strict they are. All right, lads, we will come back in part 2 and we'll talk about the match. All right, lads, so I thought it was interesting something Kyle Hayes said there at the end of part 1, and he was talking about playing mind games with the centre half back. So he was playing plenty of mind games because he's popping up all over like loose, completely unmarked, which is bizarre really. But what he said, which I thought was interesting, is that they don't go back too far. So they go back to a point where you nearly have to push out. And if you don't push out, you're in scoring distance. So, say for example, you see Waterford have a really working half forward line, but they go back into the defence, so they end up winning it, and they'll puck it back down, and the half back line will be in place, and it's almost a game of yo-yo because it's the extra men both sides. But Limerick, when Morrissey pops up, when Kyle Hayes pops up, they're in scoring distance. So it's almost like you have to push out on these lads because they're going into pockets that is not out of range. Like it's the perfect tactic. And I noticed that in Croke Park yesterday. They're lurking around the scoring side of the halfway line. And they're just standing around free. And because Limerick plays such beautiful balls, they're getting balls to hand unmarked.
And sure, look, if you look Galway down to the whole probably last 2 years, Garrett McNerney sits in front of that work. That's what he does. He sits around the D there. He just right in front of the D. That's where he always goes, and very, very cute how Limerick there as well. I think. But
that's not the net. All the ball was Mulcahy and Flanagan on the wings.
But I was going to say the use of their ball was absolutely phenomenal. Every ball that went into that Limerick forward line was to the forward's advantage. It was never to a back's advantage. And if a back has a 50-50 ball, the back is a happy days. I'll make hay here, but if you look, ask Damien there, the ball that the Limerick forward's getting, he would have loved to got that ball there as well. The kind of way, it's just always out to the outside of the forwards pop pass, and they were making a run, but they knew them if they did make the run, they would have got the ball down the channel or a crossfield ball there as well. Actually, it's huge for a forward to know that they're going to get the ball when they make that run.
But I mean, you look at it. How many balls did Flanagan get that bounced 2 or 3 times in front of him, and he rose it with the hurley, and
he had a brilliant game.
He had a brilliant game. He's always available. Now Conor Whelan's always available. Not one, Damien. Not one ball did Conor Whelan get out in front of him that he can come out and rise it with the hurley. No, I can't remember one. And the goal he got came off a high ball. I mean, Galway seemed confused as nearly Johnny Glynn was working against them in that they just didn't play that same structured, tasty ball into their forwards.
Well, what happened was, Colin, I think Limerick management deserve an awful amount of credit, right? And what happened was, they Aaron Gillane and Mulcahy came out the field for puck out for James Kell. So they left the 2 cornerbacks open, and they absolutely crowded the midfield half back line. So they didn't want, so it was giving James Kell no options there. So next thing they were hitting the ball. Basically what happened was nearly what happened to Clare against Galway. It was like, you know, the same thing. So the ball hitting the ball to the cornerback for Galway, and he was driving it down long into a big lumped crowded area in there. So Galway, where Limerick were spreading the wings for their puck outs, and they were hitting the men, right? Now, just going back on this thing about, you know, the mind games of Kyle Hayes, right? Kyle Hayes had a great game, so he had, right? I really had, okay, but I cannot understand, and I said this in the podcast a couple of weeks ago, that if you're playing wing forward in an inter-county setup, that you can run back the field, right, and not be picked up. Maybe JJ, you can explain this better to me, because it just doesn't make sense, right? Where the wing back doesn't pass the 65-yard line because he's compacting space and he's marking a square and all this, right? Where what happens is the fullback or the cornerback gets the ball and he sees for example, the Kyle Hayes and all these boys, right, out the sides, they hit him an outlier ball, he gets it, he can either have a pot shot at goal, because there's no one marking him. I seen it yesterday, it happened to Joe Cannon as well yesterday. He got a couple of balls, his very first attempt on goal for yesterday's point, he drove it wide, but no one picked him up, and lads are hitting long range wides or long range pints, or hitting in lovely diagonal ball into the corner forwards. So I just can't understand this tactic that the backs don't follow their men in inter-county hurling, but they'll follow them in club hurling.
Yeah,
right. But the second thing, you're wondering how did Galway not get this nice ball? In the first half, in particular, Colin, Galway lost the battle 100% in the middle eight. The Limerick half back line were on top all over, and so was their midfielders, you know. And I think it counted, was it 5 points from play? The Limerick half back line and midfield scored in the first half. 5 points from play.
Yeah, that'd be.
So it was 2 from Hannon. It was 2 from Hannon. It was 1 in the first half from the other wing back. Lynch left hand, yeah. Lynch to the point, yeah, exactly.
Lynch Donovan. Burns was in the second half. Yeah. Burns' point was in the second half.
No, Burns got one. Burns got one in the first half. A big long ranger off his right hand side, left hand on top. They were on top completely, and then when Johnny Glynn wasn't getting the ball and catching it, there was no, and then you had lads then, like Galway had only 1 scoring forward in the first half. That was Joseph Cooney, 2 points from play. Yeah, 1 scoring forward. You know, yeah.
It is interesting, JJ, how at this senior level that it's gone so tactical that these top class players are being just popping up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is contributing. I said this a few weeks ago. This is contributing to these shootouts. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's why we're seeing such high scores, because it's gone so tactical that half back lines are not following the half forward lines, and because obviously
they're protecting the full back line.
Protecting the full back line, but that's all right in Gaelic football because you're out of scoring zone outside the 45. But hurlers aren't really outside scoring zone, so it's almost like it's a shootout.
Yeah, it is a show, and look, we're having great games for this year's championship.
This is the thing: is would it not be better off follow these lads, man mark them, and take the chance, but tell your full back line get out in front. You don't see them doing it.
It's very very easy to say that. You can Crow Park now, and you have. I played in full back line in Crow Park, and you look around, there's 40 yards of space right in front of you. That's what you don't want. Yeah. You want your half back line 20 yards right in front of you. Just if again we're talking about that, the back wants a 50-50 ball. That's what the back wants. If the ball is coming into space, like Seamus Flanagan got there yesterday as well, it's a forwards ball all day long. It's very very important. If you go back to Tipperary and Kilkenny there in, it was a 2016 All-Ireland Final. The movement Seamus Callan had that day and the space Seamus Callan had that day was absolutely phenomenal. He used to run behind Joey Holan, fake left, run right, and the ball was put down the right hand side. With space, it's very, very hard to mark space because, again, if they
they have to hold.
I think for the sake of the full back line, they have to hold.
But then you're getting screwed on the half forward line.
But then what you're supposed to do now is get your half forward line back and your midfield back there as well. But again, you're kind of if you're winning that area, 100% you'll come back, and you're getting on ball, you'll come back. But if you're not winning ball in your own particular area, it's very hard to go back and mark someone else's man just to make someone else look good because you're not hurling well at the same time. You know, you're hoping the whole thing will kind of click into place, and your half back line might be hitting a bit of ball.
Yeah, and sometimes
like Declan Hannon did. Like Declan Hannon was free for a lot of it. He hit a lot of ball. I think that's when Joe should have went back and marked Declan Hannon for 10-15 minutes, because he scored 2 points in play in the first half, kept him in it and sprayed a lot of the ball there as well.
He had an inspirational first half.
He should have pushed up on him and then kind of nullify him like more than anything. But Joe kind of, it's where it's funny, like you could have a great game, but if you get the ball, rather than, like Joe was going deep to get the ball, but he wasn't getting it. His marker was getting the ball, and he was scoring from there.
Well, unless you're picked out, that's the beauty of Limerick.
Yeah.
Is that these half forwards, through the lines, that these half forwards are picked out.
Yeah.
So they're like,
and to know that as well. Like,
it's just bizarre for me to see these lads just being unmarked in an All-Ireland final.
The touch line.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So it's an All-Ireland final day, and like I know this is all the coaching from Connacht, right? And he deserves a lot of praise now. He's after winning All-Ireland with Clare and with Limerick. But I just think it's just amazing that in club hurling, if you're forward and you go back into your own half-back line, maybe looking for outlet ball or whatever, and next thing you turn around, your man's behind you. In inter-county hurling, you can be a wing forward and go back into your half-back line, and you can look behind you and your man is 25 yards away from you, like where he's mining space. And I can see your point, AJ, but at times I don't understand it, and I'll give you an example. We spoke about Kilkenny and we spoke about Carl Mannion and Paddy Deegan not picking him up. He got 6 points from play that day. Carl Mannion did, right? And yesterday he never scored at all, where he was being marked pretty tightly at times, where he didn't get any space and he was taking pot shots. Like, and I think the first 20 minutes of every match is called confidence for a forward. So if you are marking your man fairly tight and you don't give him much of it and you don't give him a sniff, it's a confidence thing where you're maybe looking over the side, or the management are always willing to maybe take off a forward, put on a forward like that. But I just think sometimes there's nearly too much emphasis on protecting the backs and not trying to go man marking or protecting your full back line instead of just man marking your own man. And I just thought it was interesting in yesterday's All-Ireland how much space some of the players got. Even Kyle Hayes, like Kyle Hayes got 2 points there at one stage, and like they were free shots. They were free shots. He was just sold onto and just throwing more back, and he missed 3 or 4. Like the man had roughly 7 to 8 shots on target in an All-Ireland final at centre forward. From play. Maybe
an example is this, lads. JJ, do you ever play like soccer at a junior level?
Yeah.
Like I could be playing as a striker at soccer junior level and have a fella man marking me like it's a GAA match. I'm like, but that doesn't happen at the top level because they have to drop off and cover zone. So maybe the top level hurling is more tactical than club hurling, and that's where Damien's been followed a little bit more.
Well, I think like you have to do both. At times you have to go up on your man. You have to go up on your man. But at times you can't just do that for 70 minutes. You have to sit back, because fair enough, your man might score, and you're going to have to accept that. And when you're an inter-county hurler, like if a forward gets 2 points off you, that's acceptable. At and over 2 points then is not acceptable, I don't think, because the space they'll have, because if you're doing your job for your teammates as well, he might get a loose ball, a breaking ball, and if he gets a shot at goal, 9 times 10 he's going to go over the bar because he's a great skill level. But you have to go up man to man, because there's no point if, say for argument's sake, Tom Morrissey was standing on the sideline there yesterday, I go up beside him. 2 has gone out of the game. It's no good. You're leaving 40-50 yards of space behind you, and my cornerback is going to be exposed like that as well. If he's not, you have to get up to him. If you think he's getting the ball, go up to him, man mark him. But if you think the ball is going long, and that's all, it's all coming from your forwards putting the other backs under pressure. If he's under pressure hitting the ball, then he's hitting it off the back foot. Then he doesn't know where he's hitting it. So 9 times out of 10, if you go back into space, you'll 9 times you will get it.
Well, that's what Limerick have in spades. So they have that ravenous forward line. They have this working half forward.
It shows.
Limerick have you every way because of the style of play, the way they go through the lines. These lads are causing so much damage, and then you're not sure pushing up on them, and they're popping up all over. Limerick have the perfect game plan, and that's obviously. Like, I mean, Connacht gets a lot of credit for it.
It's a very similar game plan to Galway, but they done it better.
Well, Galway were going along a lot yesterday. Galway were confused, I thought, yesterday.
But Galway's all year, Galway's half forward line were coming deep and getting the ball. But yesterday they weren't getting the ball because obviously Limerick's half forward line were working very, very hard. And Kyle Hayes, like, he had a fabulous game yesterday. But probably a natural centre back, midfield, probably kind of a player, like, and scored 4 points. But the work he done and the puck out option was phenomenal. When they come in for the puck out, they come into the middle and they broke, but they broke to the sides for, like, Nicky Quaid was hitting in space, but they were breaking 30 or 40, but he was full pelt 30 or 40 yards sprinting to get the ball. He knew where it was going to go, and he was just a fabulous outlet for Nicky Quaid all day. Like.
They won 29 of 36 puckouts. Like, I've never seen a stat like that.
That's
now.
phenomenal.
And Quaid was going long more than Scahill, I think, from my memory.
He was going long for the first maybe 20 minutes, and then he went short, because when Galway kind of realised that he was going long, Galway sat back a bit, and then he went short. Very, very cute now, Nicky Quaid as well, because he was hitting Sean Finn in the corner, and then he was hitting it over the Galway half back in there as well. It was cute enough. Like.
Yeah, but what Limerick did for the Galway puckouts is that they gave up the full back line for every puckout.
Yeah.
So they were like Scahill.
Same thing they did against Clare.
But then when Scahill would go short, and he went short, I think it was to Hanbury's corner a good bit, Flanagan was down on him like a light. So instead of Scahill having a free shot to pick out a man, suddenly Hanbury has a shot under pressure. So it made no sense for Galway to be going short, because that's what Limerick wanted him to do.
Hanbury went to come out one stage soling with the ball, and he sold it all the way out, and next he went to give a little stick pass near like with a tennis racket, and he gave it straight to Kyle Hayes. Do you remember Kyle Hayes sold it straight through the middle? He took his point. He could nearly have actually maybe tried to create an overlap for a score there.
For a goal,
but as I said to you, for a goal, but it was like a reversal. Galway's tactic against Clare, Limerick decided to use it, and it just I thought that the Galway, like I've always praised this Galway management, but the players, especially the two cornerbacks, looked extremely confused on what to do with the ball when they got the ball from their short puck out from Scahill, and it looked obvious that way. And when Galway were under pressure, like I was on the 21-yard line, Micheál Dunne was telling the likes of Whelan and Conor Cooney to go out into the half forward line just to go onto the ball and leave Johnny Glynn inside in the full forward line on his own, and it just didn't work. And they didn't get that many balls into Johnny Glynn either, even though Casey, in fairness, had a great game on him, but they didn't get an awful amount of high balls because they weren't winning it. When they weren't winning, and the Galway lads were taking pot shots as well. I thought some of our forwards were very individual sided yesterday. They didn't play as a unit, and you were just speaking about Kyle Hayes. Kyle Hayes made one unbelievable hook on Johnny Cohen in the first half, where he got back to him for a pint sided. But I just thought Limerick were way more up for the game, and they could have won the game by a lot more.
Yeah, no, it definitely could, and that's probably because of, we'll talk about the wides in a minute. Like, I mean, that it spread like a disease throughout the whole team, both teams. But like, I mean, like, you know, you always talk about moments in a game, and for the last 2 years, remember Paddy Maher hit Joe Canning, knocked him out over the sideline. Then the following year, when Galway beat Tip, Garrod McInerney knocked Paddy Maher in his arse. So Flanagan hits McInerney and puts him down. Like, I mean, these are like statements of intent. Like, I mean, this is, we're here and we hammer the hammer. We're not only going to knock you, we'll knock your biggest man. And like, that's all psychological stuff. You don't say lay down a marker and this is and I know they're cliches, but they're cliches for a reason. His teams used them. And then you have Kyle Hayes hitting Canning, and that wasn't a free at all. It was no free.
No, he got the ball, but even Flanagan hit Pádraig Mannion for the goal as well.
Yeah, now that was a foul.
Yeah,
that was in the back, borderline.
Yeah, he knocked him though. He knocked the ball away from him. Like, you know what I mean? Just in case you're not going to get out here easy.
But they bullied,
they got a goal straight away.
This is a Galway team that everyone says bullies the opposition.
But all year we're saying that Limerick are probably the only team physically that can stand up to the Galway team. And in fairness to them, they lay down a marker straight away in the first 10-15 minutes. They say that we can take you on physically, we can take you on running. If you want to play a running game, we can take you on that. We'll take you on a hurling game. There's no problem whatsoever. Like, that Galway were going to throw at Limerick, they had the answer for it straight away. Yeah,
but like, even like, I mean, okay, let's talk about the wides. So Limerick had 11 wides in the first half, 9 after half time, or 10 even after half time. I think they had 21 in total. Galway had 10 first half wides. Like, I mean, the crowd couldn't get into this. I don't know what was the reason for it, or some of them weren't even shots that were under pressure. Like, you give the defenders credit for some of them, but there was other ones, Damien, that were just complete players, like top quality players, were completely like under no pressure and are just putting it wide. It deflated the atmosphere right throughout the whole game, I thought.
Yeah, well, look, I actually thought the game was below par, being honest. I thought there was an awful lot of mistakes, an awful lot of errors. I think if you take the 3 goals that Limerick scored, all 3 of them were mistakes. All 3 of them, like, and you take an awful lot of shot selections. There was a lot of mistakes as well in it, and sometimes it's just down to the All-Ireland column that lads maybe are a bit more jittery on the ball and a little bit more nervous. Limerick, especially in the second half, hit an awful lot of wides from out the field, you know, where if they got a couple of them, they put themselves under an awful amount of pressure. And you're saying, like, how does it happen? I think Limerick players were looking up at the clock and they seen like they were maybe 2 or 3 minutes away from winning the All-Ireland, and they're 7 or 8 points up, and next thing, all of a sudden they came to the 70th minute, next thing the board went up that there was 8 minutes left. So they were, I think they were running out of steam and they were gasping for last breath, but they hung on and just hung on just about. And like, if anyone watches the All-Ireland back, right, okay, and I'm not saying the anthem here, right, but Tom Conlon was coming out with the ball. If you just watch the very last piece of play, if the referee wanted to give a free, right, and make a draw of it, Tom Conlon come out with the ball and he hand passed the ball out, and he kind of tripped Jason Flynn afterwards. Like, the ref actually could have made a draw of it if he wanted. So if anyone has just watched the very last seconds of the match, now I probably have to be honest with you, I'm delighted that didn't happen, because Jesus, it would have been absolutely terrible. But yeah, there was an awful lot of wides, an awful lot of errors in this All-Ireland. I know it's all down to pressure, but a lot of errors and mistakes made in the 80 minutes.
Yeah, you're getting desperate now, Damien, when you're looking for a free there.
Well, just watch it. No, but just watch it. I'm not. No, you're picking me up wrong here. No, I'm not depriving them in the least. No, but just watch it. The ref actually could have, if he wants to be, if the GAA would have been very happy with him, maybe if they made a draw of it and more money, would have went into extra time.
No, it'd been a replay. I'm sure,
yeah, fine.
It would have been a replay. Just at the very last clip. Very last tip, and I'm not saying that, lads. Look, it would have been an injustice if Limerick, even if Galway got a draw. Limerick were the best team on the day. They were all over Galway apart from the last few minutes of the match, right? And if they scored half of what they missed, they would have hammered Galway, and they deserved their win. And it was the first thing I said. But just at the very last clip of play, even I'd question, right? I'd even question whether it was a free. Do you know Joe's last free from the long range? I'd even question whether that was a free, where the ref got it. And the ref, in fairness, gave Galway to see what would happen. The ball dropped short. He let the boys pull. The ball could end up in the net. The ball broke. The Galway could have still won the ball back and maybe got a free or even got an equaliser. So the ref gave Galway every opportunity to level that game, so he did. But no, Limerick deserved their win, and they were well deserved of it.
I'd say Limerick must have spoke about it at half time, because he used the ball a lot better in the second half. All the pot shots in the first half, maybe, look, you can put that down to nerves in the first half. They wanted to just get the name on the scoreboard. But in the second half, they were hitting it into the corners rather than taking the shots. They were in the same positions as they were in the first half, but they're actually giving in the ball into the full forward. Aaron Gillane was making a huge amount of runs. Yeah. Seamus Hannigan was running all day. He was running straight across.
He's a nightmare to mark.
It's absolutely phenomenal. The work rate he does is phenomenal. But
they shouldn't have taken off Flanagan. They should have taken off Aaron Gillane.
I think so. Yeah, I agree with that.
They took off the wrong man, because Gillane wasn't going that awfully well, and there wasn't that many frees either for Limerick. And even if they did, Dowling would have stuck them over the bar as well. But they definitely did. I'd say that was the one major mistake that the Limerick management made on the day. They took off Flanagan, and I think they put themselves under a little bit of pressure, in particular in that last 8-minute spell. Flanagan would have been a little bit better, but I think that was the only major mistake that the Limerick management made in the hour.
I'd agree with that, JJ, because Gillane started great. He caught 2 great balls on Dottie Burke, which not easy to do. He scored a good point, but he had gone out of it at that stage, and he had a really bad wide at the end. Like, I mean, this is him on his good side, and he missed it. And it was like, Flanagan didn't deserve to come off. I didn't think.
He was just right in front of John Kiley, was 10 yards away, and then Flanagan won a ball over the side, and he hit it across the field. It was kind of went straight to Sean Loftus, I think, Galway player, and then John Kiley made a decision there and then turned around. Peter Casey, get him on straight away. Like small little thing like that. Maybe he's seen a fatigue, and maybe he was tired with the pass or something like that, but the pass didn't go to a Limerick player. Turned around, Peter Casey on the field straight away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it was Dowling came on for Garrod Hegarty earlier.
2 minutes then he was on the field straight away. And in fairness to Peter Casey, if you look at him, Graham McCarthy made a mistake coming off he hit a crossfield ball. I think one of the Galway that scored a point, but he went down and scored a point.
Niall Burke,
Niall Burke scored a point. But from the next play, then Graham McCarthy won it, but Peter Casey made around 30 or 40 yards run and broke the ball for Graham McCarthy, and he took it over the bar.
He's some man to work, Casey, isn't he? He's unreal.
Yeah, he's a great player.
A lot of the scores this lad gets is from turnovers that he's getting himself. Like,
he works out very, very hard.
Unbelievably hard. He tracks lads. He hunts them down, doesn't he?
He's a nightmare to mark at the back. You know, especially 60-70 minutes. He's fresh. He's coming on.
He's fresh, yeah.
And he's mad for road as well. Like, you know, and you're kind of saying, "Oh, this lad's coming on. He's going to haunt me now."
Yeah. Oh, he tortures you. But like, Limerick yesterday reminded me of Ye. When Ye took the Tyrone model, and you know that famous clip in 03 where like it was swarming. Remember, it was Darragh O'Shea, Darragh Kineda had it, and there was so many. Ye started doing that, where a lot of the analysis when you win an All-Ireland would be analysis of 4 or 5 lads descending on the one lad and getting your turnover. But Limerick were at that. Like, I mean, I know Niall Burke got one late in the game. There was about 6 lads around him. He got a free. It wasn't a free.
It wasn't
like,
a free either.
No,
it should have been a free in for Limerick. Like, but there were 6 or 7 lads just.
Yeah, the Limerick management. The Limerick management with bananas over that.
Yeah, and rightly so. Did you notice this one when Shane Dowling came on? That Galway substitute Gillane on straight away to Mark Dowling. Did you notice that? Yeah. No, he came on 1 minute after Dowling and went immediately over to mark him.
That's great management.
See, it is, yeah.
Yeah, in fairness to him, like, you know, they obviously spoke about that for the week.
I don't agree with you there now, Colin, because I think he came on for John Hansbury, and John Hansbury was struggling, and I think Galway on the had 2 injured, and John Hansbury was carrying injury into the game, and so was Garage McInerney, and I don't think the 2 boys played up to the standards that they're able to get to, and I think John Hansbury was struggling at that stage, and just because Dowling come on, I think they had to make a change there, and just happened to Gillane come on straight away. And even it was very interesting, they put Gillane on wing back, and Gillane doesn't play in the half back line for his club, he plays in the full back line. So that's just my opinion. Right. I just think they made a change. It might be just incidental to the 2 of them come on within a minute of each other, but the 2 boys weren't fit, and they didn't play well either on the day. Like Garage McInerney 2 weeks ago could not play against Clare. He had a calf injury, even though I thought maybe he could have ruptured he's cruciate, but he wasn't himself. I see him one stage. As I said, I was in the 21 around the Hogan stand, and Tom Morrissey got the ball, and McInerney was marking him, and it was like McInerney was able to jog, but he wasn't able to sprint. Now I know Morrissey drove the ball wide from out the angle, but he just wasn't running right. He just wasn't himself.
Right, yeah, no, he probably... Listen, I think Limerick don't play a game plan that suits McInerney, because he's not going to get balls down on top of him.
One ball on top of me, he caught it, and that was it.
Yeah, in the first half, wasn't
first half. After that, then Nicky Wade just hit to the sides all the time as well. When he was going long, it was just to both sides. Kept away from him, like.
And that was it. It's just the reason I thought they brought Gillane on for Dowling is because remember when Kevin McManaman was making such an impact all the time with Dublin, that what Fitzmaurice and Kerry used to do is the minute McManaman came on, they brought on a fresh defender, and I thought there's a good logic to that, and I thought maybe Dowling had reached that level now of super sub that you maybe needed fresh legs.
Well, just to prove that he wasn't marking, because when Dowling got the goal, so he did. Dowling ran back out towards the side of, we'll say, the Galway management, and Paul Gillane was the far side.
Right. Well, Gillane,
it might look that way, but
Gillane, when Gillane came on, he ran straight across under the Cusack stand onto Dowling. Now I know when Dowling scored the goal, sure, he went ape shite.
He did.
Dowling thought that was the winning goal, and who could have blamed him?
Well, sure you would, like, you know, he's just icing on the cake really more than that stage, you know what I mean?
But then within minutes, then they brought on Loftus. So the Galway brought on Loftus, and they put Gillane back cornerback after putting
Aidan Hart was back cornerback.
Aidan Hart, so then they brought Aidan Hart out to midfield. At times, Colin, I have to be honest and say, I don't know. We spoke about Galway's defence and maybe Galway's options of subs, right? There's players on the sub bench for the Galway senior hurling team, and they haven't got game time. And maybe it's because I don't think the Galway management trusts the options that they have in defence. Like, there's other players, I'm not going to start naming them, but there's players on the subs that haven't got game time in maybe 2, maybe even possibly 3 years, so they haven't. So, and then we look for a substitution at midfield for Johnny Cohen. We had to bring Aidan Hart, who was after going from wing back to cornerback, back out to midfield. So does that mean then that we didn't have a third option midfielder in our setup?
Yeah.
You know, so what I'm trying to say is we didn't have a strong sub bench for our backline. And where are you going to find these players? And the thing is, Galway are in Division 1B again next year, so we're going to be playing a lot of the weaker counties where Galway need to find maybe 3, 4, 5 players next year, and they're playing the weaker counties where Limerick are gone up into Division 1A.
Yeah, so I couldn't believe the stat that I read this morning that last year was Galway's 5th All-Ireland title, and yesterday was their 20th final to lose. 20 finals and won 5. It's a
It's
terrible
crazy.
record,
It's
really.
crazy,
And
yeah.
when you think about last year, like, I mean, how big that was for Galway.
Yeah.
I actually didn't realise it was that big, or that the
20th.
stats were that.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I didn't
it's a lot.
realise that now at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you aware of that, Damien, in Galway?
I wasn't. No, I wasn't. I know we lost. Was it 6 All-Ireland finals? I think it was from since '88. I knew that, but
Yeah, no, I think he lost a lot in the 20s, and these can be skewed as well, but like there might have been 6 in the 20s alone or something, but at the same time it's 20 and 5. It's not a good record in finals.
no, we didn't play well. As I said, I just read a thing there, and John Kiley, he targeted the first 20 minutes. He said that they targeted the first 20 minutes of this All-Ireland, where Galway were blitzing teams, and you could see it there. Limerick were really up for it. But to be hungry and motivated is a massive thing, and they brought a massive energy towards this game, and Galway never got to the heights and to the levels of this game, and lost the battle in the middle 8. And first time I ever heard the mention of the middle 8 was Declan O'Sullivan gave an interview. So he did the Kerry Footballer in a Radio 1 interview, and all he kept talking about, it was a Kerry versus Cork game, and all he kept talking about was the middle 8. This was about maybe 10 years ago. Middle 8, and I was wondering, like, what does he mean? And, like, that was back then. Kerry were talking about the middle 8, the half forward line, half back line, and 2 midfielders, and what you call it, Limerick won that. Effectively, they went down and won the All-Ireland. If you don't win the battle in the middle 8, it's over.
Yeah, they did. It just looked like one team completely up for this, and Galway looked there for the taking. And maybe again, just to finish up, is that you say it all throughout the year, like Galway are going with the same team as last year.
Yeah.
Like, what team does that? Like, I know ye did a year. I don't want to compare any team with ye because you're freaks of nature. You see,
we always had a couple of lads come on.
Would you always have one or
we
two?
One or
Galway
two
had
lads came on.
nobody.
They change it up, one or two guys. Yeah.
And Tipperary the year before that.
Galway were using Galway using 18, 19 of the same players every day, and I know it's easy talk afterwards, right? And hindsight is a great thing, as they say, right? But like, I suppose the writing was on the wall. Galway should have been beaten against Kilkenny the first day in the Leinster final. They should have been, because Kilkenny had so many wides when they were on top in the first half, right? The second day, okay, Galway pushed on, right? Then Galway played Clare in the semi-final, right? And Clare went 3 points up in extra time, right? So Galway should have been beaten that day as well, right? And then when they played Clare again in Thurles, right, a goal post prevented Clare from getting to the All-Ireland final. So Galway should have been beaten in that game as well, and then we played Limerick. So, Galway were very lucky to get to the All-Ireland, but the writing was on the wall that the panel wasn't as strong as it needed to be, and Micheál Dunne is now going to have to go and look for extra players to try strengthen his squad, but it's going to be hard to do that in Division 1B. But as I said, Galway, when you look back, struggled all year.
Yeah. So just quickly on that, is that I would say that starting team was the same as last year's starting team. Wouldn't it be fairly close? I'd say it would be the same.
Yeah.
And Tipperary got Barskell in goal, yeah, and that was an enforced change. So Tipperary the year before then as well, they won the All-Ireland, come back with the very same team and run out of gas, aren't able to defend it. You look at Dublin footballers this year, and the example of this, so since last year's final, Paddy Andrews has gone out and Mick Fitzsimons has gone out, and who's come in has been Owen Merchant, who's only young, and Brian Howard is only young. So Dublin's team are all a year older, but their average age has come down by a year. Okay. So 2 lads that don't deserve to be dropped, but Jim Gavin's doing it, and that's what Cody almost like so cutthroat, that the loyalty of what a player did for him, Cody doesn't care. He's thinking of what's for Kilkenny, not what's my relationship.
And Jim Gavin's
last year. Jim Gavin's cutthroat. Yeah, that's the thing. But Brian, like you said, now I can't remember every year, but if there's a new face or two every year, it just refreshes it or keeps someone on their toes.
It's a huge thing. Look, it's very, very hard to do back to back. There's no point in saying different, because if you win it one year, you doing the same thing the following year, you think you're doing all the right things, but you can't do the same. You have to do more and kind of up it again, because you have to say everyone were happy to see Galway winning last year. This year, then you're kind of saying, oh, we'd love to see Limerick winning because it's 45 years since they lost it. Last year, everyone just a delight to see Galway win because after breaking the duck there as well, like, you know, kind of way. So you're up there to be knocked when you're after winning All-Ireland the following year. Referee decisions, everything, the small little things will always go against you, but you can't do the same as you done a year previously. You have to do more.
Right.
You have to do another 10-15% more, because if you think you're doing the same thing, I can guarantee you talk to the Galway lads to do kind of, if they look honestly back on the year previously or on this year gone, they'll actually say, yeah, I could have done more. The year before that, you asked them, no, I couldn't have done more. I left everything out in the field. They didn't do it this year because they had that medal in their pocket and they think, right, this is going to happen again.
The hunger's blunted, or you think
it is, because you're doing the same. Like, if you won it last year, I'm going to do the same as last year,
so
because that won it for me.
Your hunger wasn't blunted. So what's that? Brian Cody?
We had to do more. Like,
right.
We had to do more. And we weren't comfortable in our positions because you knew that there was a couple that's going to be they're challenging you for your spot.
And Cody drop you if you played bad. Yeah, that's what Jim Gavin has as well.
Yeah, it's a huge motivation for. It has to come from individual motivation, and you have to believe that he will drop you.
Yeah,
it's a huge thing, because you look over your shoulder. You have to believe that the lad 17 or 18 on his back, you are lucky to get that starting position. And if you don't play well, your man comes in, he's going to take your spot for the whole year, and you're going to be 17 or 18, and you're going to be sitting down watching the rest of the game. You have to believe that yourself, to have that motivation to go on and win it. Like, you know, so it's a huge thing.
And that's one thing, just quickly to finish up, is that if Kylie listens to this podcast and realises for next year they have a squad to just drop one or two lads and make sure that kind of culture is created and with them.
You can't drop them for the sake of dropping them. It has to be a reason behind it. You know, kind of way the mentality is, right, I don't care who starts for the 15. Once Limerick win next year, that's the matter. I don't care who plays.
Yeah,
we have a method of play, and you see them, they stuck to their structure all year. They're through the lines, get the ball give the ball to the best guy in the best position, he'll score, no issue whatsoever. Once Limerick win, I don't care. And he'll have to go back in next year and say, right, what we done last year, forget about it. This is kind of setting down the marker. And he done that this year as well. You see the Pierce lads come back, they played a Club All-Ireland Final, and it took Mike Casey a long time to get on that team. Before, there's no, like any other team, you say the cool lads walk back on the Dublin team.
Yeah.
Any other kind of club team that's challenging for a club final will always come on to the county, but they didn't. John Kiley stuck with the guys that knew he could trust, because they were playing that system. They got out of Division 1B, and that kind of bore fruit now for the rest of the championship.
That was good management too. Yeah, he's obviously done an awful lot of good things.
It would be very easy just to put the Pierce lads are back now.
Yeah,
they're hurling maybe their club
and they're winners, etc. Yeah,
let him back in and play, but he didn't. Like.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay, great stuff, lads. We'll come back with performance of the weekend. Alright lads, Paddy Power performance of the weekend. There's only one place to start, and that's Kyle Hayes. Only 20. Heard from him there at the start of the show. Man of the match in an All-Ireland, scores 4 points, made the Mulcahy goal. Damien's talking about his hook on Johnny Cohn, which is not springing to my mind, but there's no doubt, you know, like he got around the field and did an awful lot of work.
He sprinted 30 yards for the hook there as well, yeah.
But here's the thing I was reading this morning. Now, he was full forward for the Limerick Minors, right? He's centre back for the Limerick Under-21s. He's centre forward to senior All-Ireland. Now, the way the game's gone so fluid, hurlers are hurlers now that can play nearly anywhere. They're all highly skilled, so they're not like pigeonholed in one position, which is a great thing. But that's still some move around the field, and that's still some move around the field that you're dominating those positions, and you're like, he's only 20.
Yeah.
He's a child, and he stood up and was counted in the second half.
He's a big child.
He's a huge man.
He's a big man.
This lad's going to be a superstar.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Like, what a performance there yesterday as well. Like when Limerick needed him the most, 10 minutes after half time, he just took over the whole game. Himself and Shane Flanagan, two of them had an unbelievable second half. But even first half, he wanted ball. He was hungry for ball. He was chasing down. He was an outlet for Nicky Quaid for the puck out there as well. Done everything. He had a perfect game, so he had absolutely brilliant. So yes.
And when I went out to City West there this morning, just before, when I was talking to him in an interview there, he was saying that he was just back from the pool.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Gillane was dying, Shane Dowling was dying. Kyle Hayes went for a recovery session in the pool the morning after an All-Ireland. Isn't this a different breed, JJ? Like, I mean, what's going on? Like, I mean, am I so old and farrowed?
I never done myself, will you, to be honest?
No, but isn't that's the way these young lads think, Damien? Like, they're a different breed, these fellas.
Stop, don't believe it. But to tell you a story, Colm, was sitting beside a Limerick lad yesterday, and he recognised me, and next thing Kyle Hayes was after scoring a great point, and I started clapping my hands, and next thing he turned to me and he goes, "Why are you clapping your hands?" Next thing I just started making out that Kyle Hayes was my first cousin. Right? I have to say here we're absolutely no relation, right? But I started making out that he was my relation, and next thing he goes, "Are you serious? Is he related to you?" And I goes, "Oh, geez, he's a great bit of stuff. What's he like?" I said, "He's one of the nicest, most down to earth fellas that you ever meet." Like this, if Limerick win, I'll be delighted for him. Like this, and he goes, "Oh, jeez, boy, I'll be telling them all now." He says, I was sitting beside Kyle Hayes' first cousin. Boy, jeez, it's great to meet you." Like this. But I'm no relation. I'm no relation to Emmanuel whatsoever. But look, I thought just yesterday, I just liked. And I liked an awful lot about him yesterday. He got scores, he took on the man, he was working hard for the team, he was competing in the air, he made a couple of mistakes, he drove a couple of wides, but he never let the head drop like this, and he was well deserving of his man of the match. But he took the game to Galway from the very start, and even his work rate. I'm a big fan of this guy. I remember him playing the All-Ireland Final 2 years ago, because Galway were in the All-Ireland as well. So, and I remember him, and he was a good talent that day as well at full forward. But a great bit of stuff. But the recovery session, no, I never did too many recovery sessions in the swimming pool after a match. No,
not after an All-Ireland Final. Good God! I just couldn't believe it. The next man is Declan Hannon, lads. Now, Declan Hannon, a little bit like Joe Canning, it's like they went, you hurl one half and I'll hurl the other, because Hannon, like the first, it was his first or second point where he intercepted the ball, and like Jesus, just his momentum brought him forward, and he celebrated that one. Yeah, and that was just like, we're here. There's another marker being laid down, plenty of markers. Now I don't know whether to hold it Joe Canning's second half against Hannon, but he was dropping to good effect in the second half, even though Canning got a few scores. Yeah, he was happy enough to do what he was doing. You know what I mean? He was defending. I suppose at that stage, you didn't want Galway scoring a goal. That's all they were thinking about that stage. But in fairness, you talk about Kyle Hayes, Declan Hannon has done a tour of the country as well for Limerick. He was centre forward, wing forward, midfield, but I think centre back's his natural position. But he loves spraying ball, and I think he's one of the outlets for the Limerick forwards as well. He just, when he hits in the ball that he wants coming in when he was a forward. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? A lot of lads, when they were playing up there, when they go back to the backs, they lump it high and long, but he doesn't do it. He hits into the forwards advantage too. But fabulous game. It was delightful for Declan now yesterday as well. He had a great game, and fabulous hurler. Fabulous hurler, and he's a great leader as well, obviously, in this team. And that's another great move from John Kiley, who put him back centre back. Now I know he played Harty Cupper Schools at centre back, and he is natural there and can play there, but he hadn't played there for so long, Damien. That was another big call from John Kiley, and like painting the picture.
He made that move. Yeah. He made that move last year. The first time I really sat down and watched him was when Limerick played Kilkenny down in Nolan Park. Now I know that Kilkenny beat them, but they only just about bet them really on the same day. But he scored 2 points from play and he had one wide. And I thought in the first half in particular, I thought he was unbelievable. But I will say this, Colin, about him, right? I thought he really came into the game. It was really like he lowered the blade and he really got out of himself in that last 8 minutes. He cleared a good bit of ball now in that last 8 minutes when they were under a lot of pressure. So he was, and he's a lovely striker of a ball. He loves to strike off his left. And as I said to you before, I was on an all-star trip with him before, and so I was over in San Fran. I think you were on it as well, JJ. Yeah. He has matured unbelievably in the last couple of years, so he has. And maybe, as you said, maybe centre back. There was a stage like he couldn't make the team there for Limerick, so there was, and he went to centre back, and he's the captain and he's their leader now. And the lads seem to respond to him and look at. It was an unbelievable day, but he's an unbelievable game himself. To be fair, he scored 2 points in All-Ireland Final from centre back, and also drive one wide in the first half. It was a great performance.
Did he suffer from a bit of inconsistency in the forwards, JJ, in that sometimes he'd shoot the lights out, all the spotlight would be on him the next day, and then he's not able to do it. But now he's consistently in the game all the time. Yeah, he's in the game all the time. Yes, but I think we played him in semi-final in 2014. And he scored 4 or 5 points. A real wet day in Croke Park. Yeah, he had a brilliant game centre forward, I think, as well that day. You know, but he's a natural hurler, a natural striker. He's very, very good at right or left. But I think just attacking the ball, he's a lot better. Like, you know, in the last 10 minutes against Cork, he came into the game phenomenally, and that he was one of the reasons that Limerick went on and actually got it extra time now more than anything, you know. But fabulous hurler. But again, I don't know if you want to mention him, but kind of full backs union here. Mike Casey had a brilliant game. No, I have him down here. Don't worry about that.
Right, we'll get on to him.
We'll get on to him in a second, because Joe Canning is the next one I have on my list here. So he scores 110, lads. He nearly did it on his own. Yeah. And, do you know?
Except for Joseph Cooney, though, brilliant.
Yeah,
very, very good.
But do you know, it was at the stage where they were 9 down and Joe get a point, and he'd look back the field and try to rile them up, and you're almost thinking, Jesus, Joe, like, I mean, that's not going to do much good at this stage. But like, Joe believed we can get back into this, do you know, and it worked out that they did get back into it.
Self-belief is a huge thing, you know, and especially when you see one of your top players, if you're a cornerback or fullback and you see Joe kind of boosting everyone up after a great score as well, like they're saying, right, next ball we're going to try and win it, like, you know. But he had a phenomenal second half again, like, you know, and it's not the first time Joe was doing it. He had a brilliant year as well, like, you know, against Clare. Whenever Clare got the goal, Joe was always go-to man for the Galway team there as well. He won a lot of ball and he won all the scores, and even the 65 he struck near the end. He just hit up, like, to swear there's nothing. It's a hard score to get, like, you know, the 65. And
65s are almost gimmies with him, aren't they?
Yeah, you take for granted, you know what I mean?
He's not lashing them even, is he?
No, he's just flicking the ball and it's going 60, 65 yards over the bar. But even just the time, the game, the pressure on, he had to score that 65, and it was a phenomenal score as well, like, you know. It was just the last three was just a bit too far out now, you know.
Damien, I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a couple of sideline balls that were in his range and David Burke took them. Did you notice that? There was one under the Cusack stand in the first half. I was surprised that Joe wouldn't have taken it.
And it didn't work out.
Yeah.
You know, I whether they had this planned. I think David Burke sidelined it fast to Whelan, and it didn't work out. But yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised with that. But as we were just saying, look, Joe in his second half, in particular, his last 20 minutes was phenomenal. He scored 110 in All-Ireland Final, which can't be sniffed at either, you know, and he scored 3 points from play, you know, and look at, as I said, it was, if he got the last 3, you know, it's like Anton, it would have went to a draw. It was just unfortunate. It was a little bit too far out. I thought it was interesting, Eddie Brennan saying if he stood over it, he would have had a better chance of pointing, which maybe had a point.
What did he mean? Sorry, I'm not a hurling man now. What does that mean?
Okay, he said that he ran up to the ball, but what I took from it was when you run up from the ball, maybe your strike has to be on the button, where if he stood over it, like if he was taking an ordinary feed, that he might have got a cleaner strike at the ball.
Okay.
But it was an awful distance out.
It's and power
look at he can't be faulted. We'll put it like that. He can't be faulted, and But yeah, he had another great season this year, and every season now is going to be getting a little bit harder. So it was just unfortunate. We'll say that Galway didn't win the All-Ireland, but we won't begrudge Limerick. They deserved their win on the day.
Yeah, I don't want to get into Hurler of the Year talk and stuff, because there's too much to talk about the actual match, and plus we have the Woolley Awards coming up in about a month's time. So, listen, Joe Canning is Hurler of the Year for me. Like, I mean, he like nearly getting it last year when maybe he didn't really deserve it. Might count against him, ironically, the year. I think he does deserve it. I think he's absolutely the Hurler of the Year. When you look back on every game, he's been the main driving force, man of the match awards all over the place. Like, I think he's the standout. I'm not sure how you can make an argument against Joe Canning personally.
The biggest argument you can make is that he got it last year, which is it is wrong. Like, you're wrong to be saying it. You know, like,
he's Player of the Year though, is he? JJ, would you agree? I know Matt.
He's up there. It's definitely debate there for it. Pádraig Mannion is up there as well. Like, you know, I think he had a phenomenal year again.
Yeah. Weirdly, Mannion deserved it last year.
Yeah. When he's must then as well. Though, you see him yesterday when Kyle Hayes is going well. What to do? Pádraig Mannion in centre back. You know, the kind of way he was again. When Richie Hogan was going well, Pádraig Mannion went in centre back on Richie Hogan's line. So whenever they have pressure on, who's the guy to go to Galway all the time is Pádraig Mannion. He had a fabulous year again, like, you know. So between him and Graham McCarthy's in for a shout as well, like, you know.
For a shout,
yeah. Aaron Gillane's in for a shout there as well. So there's no probably standout county
See, Gillane got sent off and missed a game. He's probably not in the mix, didn't he? Dowling came in, so he missed 2 games. Although there's enough now, there's so many games you can miss them.
He played 6 games, you know, whereas lads got it, but then played 4 games before and then got Hurler here, you know.
That's true, yeah. Okay, right. Well, Graham McCarthy and Flanagan I have down on my list as well, but we've spoken a little bit about them. Mike Casey then, lads, he only lasted 48 minutes. But he put any idea of the concern out of people's heads, and he didn't try to catch one ball with Johnny. He borderline legal now. You'll say it's legal because you're a full back. But he used his body to not let Glynn get a run on at a ball. So unless Glynn was standing right under it, Casey was blocking him, trying to get. You know what I mean? He was doing smart stuff for a fullback, but never contested any of them with him.
I'd say Mike Casey was probably marking the likes of Kevin Downs, maybe in training for the last 2 or 3 weeks. big man, 6'3", 6'4", big guy. He was just trying to spoil him as much as possible. I'd say they done a lot of work on it. But fairness to Mike Casey, like, the motivation he had come into this game, the whole country was talking about Johnny Glynn. Who's going to handle him? How can I handle him? Mike Casey can't handle him. Everyone was talking about the whole situation. Was massive motivation going into the thing. But look, I had to admire him. Like, he stood up to the counter and he was injured coming off, but he didn't want to come off as well. Like, he wanted to stay on and play the game. But fabulous game from Mike Casey. Brilliant game. Brilliant full back display.
John Kiley said he was probably under most pressure of all the players because of the amount of commentary that was on his matchup with Johnny Glynn. It's as good a performance on Johnny Glynn. Like, Johnny Glynn, Damien, was moved out to wing forward after 25 minutes because the first 3 or 4 balls went into him. He wasn't at the races. Then when he went out wing forward, he caught one immediately and set up a point. So that just puts it into context.
So to just explain this for viewers again, right? Casey's a small man and Johnny Glynn's a bigger man, right? And I seen it. This was a complete tactical thing, right? And what I just can't think of his name. What you call the sub full back to come on?
Richie McCarthy.
Yeah, Richie McCarthy. Right. Okay. So what happened was balls were coming into Johnny, right, and coming in, and Casey was working off his catch in hand. JJ will explain this better, right? So Johnny Glynn holds the hurl in his left hand and he catches the ball with his right hand. So basically what Johnny Glynn wants is he wants Casey to be standing on his left hand side where his left hand is, right? But Casey never did that. When the ball was coming in, Casey was working off his catching hand every time not to allow him to catch it. But also what he did a couple of times, and so did McCarthy when he came in full back, he let the ball break through, right? And I knew then behind him that the goalkeeper was going to collect the ball. They let the ball break through. And the first option was not to let him catch the ball. That was it. And he done it successfully. And he was out in front of Johnny and he got his few balls in it. And he was probably hugely motivated. He knew he was under pressure, but he had a great game. But the whole idea was stand on the catch in hand. So when the ball is breaking, that you're working off the catch in hand if you're going back and not working off the wrong side. And the great example of trying to explain is Johnny Glynn on David McInerney in the semi-final. David McInerney was on the wrong side and Johnny caught it and turned and swung with one hand back to the net. So, but Casey never caught in any of that regard, and he had a fine game in fairness. I felt sorry for him that he went off. It looked like he twisted his ankle or something like that, but he had an absolutely brilliant game. He had
a brilliant game. And okay, is that so? Technically, you wouldn't go to his catch in hand if you wanted to catch it. But if he had decided, I'm not even going to try to catch it, he was able to come around on the wrong side.
He was playing his hand. Yeah, he was playing his hand. He was making sure that he wasn't going to catch the ball, which would be a huge psychological boost for even Johnny Glynn or the Galway team as well. When high balls coming in, he would catch it, the whole thing. Comes in.
But why would fullbacks not do that and Johnny Glynn more often, or do to try to do it? Like, I mean, that would seem more makes sense to me.
Probably they might back themselves to catch the ball over him, you know, in a way, you know. You're always you're all confident enough in your own ability to say, right, I'm going to.
So what would you do then on Johnny Glynn?
Catch it, all right.
Would you? Well, you were good at catching it. It was all timing.
Well, you look at Aaron Gillane as well. Just watch Aaron Gillane. Then Colm catches the ball with his left hand because he holds the hurl in his right hand, right? Yeah. And he caught 2 balls again yesterday, where basically what he's doing is he sees the flight of the ball, he's getting on the left hand side of his marker, right? And he might be even nudging him with his right shoulder, so where the ball is coming into his left hand where he's not being tackled. And it happened yesterday, right? Where that's what Johnny Glynn would always be trying to catch her. So Casey knew that he wasn't going to be able to compete with him in the air. So what he did was he went working off his catch in hand and didn't allow him to catch the ball. And it was interesting, as you said, when Johnny Glynn went out wing forward, right? He probably was. I think he went up for the first high ball with Morrissey. He caught the ball because Morrissey maybe wasn't on the right side of him, or maybe he tried to catch it himself. But Casey was well tuned in. He knew what he had to do. Maybe the management set him down and also showed him, you know, the cute things that you can do just to win the ball or let the ball through and have. And look, there's no better man to let you know about what what to do in full back than JJ there to let you know. But it's all you work off the catch in hand if you do not want your man to catch the ball. Colm, that's the way it works.
Funny, Morrissey's a bigger man than Mike Casey, but he caught the ball straight over his head, like, you know what I mean. But obviously what Damien said is 100% right. Like, he was just trying to, he had no interest in getting the ball himself. Spoil the ball. Sure, why wouldn't he? Like, you know what I mean?
He knew he backed himself. He backed himself on the ground, but not. He backed himself on the ground, but not in the air.
Jeez, absolutely. It just sounds clever. Like, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Like, I mean, whether it was Kiley or whether it was Kinnerk or whether it was his own decision how to play Glynn, say it was probably a collective decision, and he was given that advice. That, like, I mean, it's absolutely perfect.
But Colm, that's one of the big things I've noticed, right? And maybe JD, you can comment on this as well. But one of the big I know is in the game in the last maybe 3, 4, 5 years is all about the tackling. Right, and for me to explain this on the tackling is, it's when, just say a man gets the ball and he's coming in, it's almost they're bringing the football tackle into the hurling, but it's hand in, hand out, hand in, hand out, hand in. So you're tackling with your hand in, hand out, where you can't be caught for holding them, right? And another prime example is when a lad soloing with the ball and you're trying to catch him, you're pulling him back, but you're letting go. You're pulling him back and you're letting him go. And a great example of that is, you had Aidan Hart running after Tony Kelly in the semi-final replay, and Aidan Hart was pulling him back, but he was hand in, hand out, half a second in, half a second out, pulling him back. You know, so the tackle has gone so important. And then you take a corner forward that gets the ball. When he rises the ball and he turns and he goes to go turn his man, you often see all the top cornerbacks, they get in the tackle first to put him on his back foot straight away, so that he's lost momentum straight away, where he can't drive off with power. The tackle now has gone unbelievable, and then we're just after saying the cuteness then in the air. You work off the catching hand if you don't want your man to catch the ball. It's actually gone. The tackle now has gone unbelievable. One time I used to go training and it used to be all ball work and long striking and first touch, where I'd say there's 50 or 60% of training at inter-county level now is all emphasis now is all on the tackle and the work rate and all that, but the work rate is all the tackle.
Yeah, no, they do. They tackle the man a little bit more just to stop him up a little bit, and then he might turn back rather than stay going.
You're driving him back.
Listen, it's time to pick a winner here, lads. So we did a poll, and sometimes I go along with the poll. Mike Casey, fullback Union JJ's at the bottom on 11%. Very, very interestingly, Joe Canning and Declan Hannon are at 25% each. So they marked each other and they got identical.
Yeah.
So maybe it was first half Declan, second half Joe. The winner here, which I'm not going to dispute, is Kyle Hayes on 39%. Absolutely outstanding, brilliant stuff. Delighted for him. Like I said, he's going to be an absolute superstar. He is 20 years of age. Think of what you were like at 20 years of age. Imagine winning an All-Ireland for your team at 20 years of age. And he got that point against Cork, the equalising point down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh as well. Like, I mean, he's 20. He's only a child, and he looks like a child as well. And he goes to the pool the morning after an All-Ireland. Like, we're all screwed. The game's changed, lads. The game's changed.
Don't want to play the game anymore.
And Colin, we have to remember that, as you said, he's only 20. That the man is going to develop into a way bigger man in the next couple of years as well. So he's going to be ploughing through defences at centre forward as well.
He will.
You know, so he's going to get even bigger and stronger.
He will. He's going to be an absolute sensation.
Only hope he'll put back centre back in a few years' time.
and he's not a relation of mine.
Right, lads, great stuff. That's all we've time for. Thanks for everything today and all year as well. We're going to let you back to your clubs there now, lads. You can, and
free to go back to clubs.
We'll talk to you in February for the league next year. Thanks very much, and we'll talk to you again. Good luck.